One of my pastimes is climbing mountains, and one climb that I made with my son was climbing Mont Blanc that's in France. It's the highest mountain in Western Europe, and so one of the things that is really cool about it is you look up and you see the summit, and it's incredibly far away, and you think, man, that's going to be really cool to get up there. But it's also can be extremely difficult to, as the day goes on, to look and know that you still have that far to go. And so one of the things that I found is the further along we got, I began to calculate how far ahead people were, and so you can see a climbing group ahead, and your mind starts to play tricks on you. You start to think, gosh, those guys are 45 minutes away at this incredibly difficult pace, or they may be 2 hours ahead, and you start to calculate it. So I figured out eventually that what I really needed to do was to just watch Hank, the South African climbing partner, watch his feet, and where he put his feet was where I was going to put my feet. And that way I was really paying attention to the things that were close to me, knowing that eventually I'd make it to the summit. But I relate that a lot to the way that we work, and that's really how great technologies are made, is you have to do the small steps. I mean, you can't do it in a single leap, and that's what our company is great at. We latch onto an idea and we'll work with it until we find a way to make it work. The first ideas for the repeater port really started to emerge very, very early in the history of the company. Even before we had launched our HD technologies, we were already tossing around the ideas of going to ultra-high stage numbers, and there were a number of things that pushed us to head that direction. So the earliest concepts, I don't even remember where they were. They were quite a while back, but the good part about it meant that we had concepts, we had them on paper, and we're on prototype number 6, and our competitors haven't even started working on it. They're working on technologies that really we had determined to be of little value 2 or 3 years before they even started to work on and to release their idea of technologies.
StackFrac was coming to the end of what we were capable of doing with that through what we had already changed with the seat increments. And now everybody was at the race to get more stages. And other competitors and people were taking on new technologies and new things that they were going to that was going to steer them away. So when you were looking at what we were able to do with repeater port, all we wanted to do is simply add more stages.
I remember being at a sales meeting, and a lot of our sales guys were talking about some of the new developments were for more stages, and some of the other service companies were pursuing the 1/16th ball increment. We sat down after and discussed it, and some of the things while we were doing ball testing that we discovered was that when you get into the smaller or closer increment ball seats, the issues with QA, the issues with field running, so operational excellence, become very apparent.
You know, from a Packers Plus standpoint, you know, our motto is do it once, do it right. We want to make sure that we have the predictability within our tool line so that we know what's going on downhole. We couldn't get that with the 1/16th seat increments.
You have to keep things in the field as simple as you possibly can. When you change your increments of the seats from 1/4 inch to 1/8 of an inch, those ball sizes are really close. So you're having to gauge those and pay very close attention to which ball you're dropping next. And it's easy to get that mixed up. If we would have taken that down even further to 1/16th of an inch, we would have really lost control of our quality. We don't want to take and reinvent the wheel. You know, we're not looking for anything else to take and come along that we're going to have to introduce to the client that they're not going to recognize when they see it. They have to recognize what they're looking at. It was hard enough getting them to wrap their arms around a new completion method to begin with. It wasn't the time to change and shift gears to another, you know, completely different product line altogether.
The concept of the repeater port, really in its simplest form, you know, I kind of equate it to a ballpoint pen that you click it and it changes form, right? The ink comes out and stays out. You click it again and it goes back in. Except with our ballpoint pen or our repeater port, as a ball comes through, it makes it go through a click, but the ink doesn't come out yet. And then maybe another ball comes through and it clicks again, but it doesn't come out yet. And as many times as we have it set up to work that way, then when it's set up, it goes through these passive shifts, and then the last ball comes through and it activates it. And so it would shift the port open, or if it were a pen, you'd click it, and the ink is magically out this time.
The client You know, they are taking on a large amount of risk by adapting any kind of completion method that is not conventional, it's not accepted, you know, by industry standards, and they can get in trouble for this. He has to trust you, and he has to have confidence in the technology that he's picking, you know, to enhance this well and get more production back. I mean, sure, he could take and get home at the end of the day, and he could do the same thing everybody else is doing, and be quite fine with that. But you know what? I don't think that it's human nature for a lot of these guys to take and want to do that. You know, they want to have the best well in the field, and they want to have their name attached to it. These are the pioneers, the explorers, the guys that go out and they do these wells, you know, out in the middle of nowhere, and it's called a wildcat because that's what they do. I mean, they feed very much off of that, and so you go into their office, and usually the guy that you're talking to is the decision maker. This is the guy that has like our company, they have the empowerment and the freedom to go out there and do their job.
Some clients, I mean, you just, you're able to build that trust, you know, and they trust you and you trust them, and you know, that's where you have to leverage. And, you know, I mean, we rolled out Repeater Port to them when we felt comfortable that we were to a point where it would go in the hole and it would work. So we stepped into it methodically, just as their approach was. But it all boils down to trust.
When I'm climbing a mountain, we're always really kind of breaking new ground. We're always doing things beyond our capabilities, or our previous capabilities anyway, and I like to think our company's that way. And so it's a real challenge to mentally and physically move beyond those boundaries. And what I'm really proud of Packers Plus about, and about our people, is we do that on a daily basis. And when I look at areas where we've got tremendous innovation going on, our manufacturing is world class. They have set a new standard for our industry, for our business, and really probably for, you know, for manufacturing processes worldwide. Our field operations are just doing incredible things that we've never seen in our industry with regard to training and quality and things like that. Our sales staff, our support people, everybody's full of innovation in this company. And it's not just innovation for the purpose of innovating, it's innovation to really take our whole company to a new level. And I equate it a lot to climbing, right? You're always breaking new ground, you're always doing things beyond what you've ever done before, and we do this on a regular basis at Packers Plus.